I always had this idea of bass as being, yeah, this sort of warm bed. Like I'm laying this bed that everyone can kind of like, we all can lay on. And I'm not trying to make this sexual, watch it.
Oh, yeah, you are.
And we're all there, you know, and it's comfy and it's cozy and it's, you know, it's like butter. It's not just me standing back by the drummer and just sort of being quiet.
You're not the stoic bass player.
I'm not the stoic bass player. There are 3 guitars, sometimes 4 if Chesney picks up one. And, you know, there's a lot of things happening. And I don't want to play on top of what is already going on in that. And maybe I do. And sometimes I do. Often I do. But it works, though, somehow.
I make sure you do at times.
And it all fits, you know? Everybody's got their place.
It's kind of the rock thing. Like, I mean, good grief, man. You talk, there's a few standards in the world. That's one of them there, you know. SVT head on, you know, 8/8s or, you know, 4x10s or something. I mean, that is the sound, you know.
That's what cuts through.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Well, we're taking that B15 and making it sound like an SVT when we want it to, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, we really are.
On that pedal, there's a part of it that I hit that kind of brings in the grit and the drive a little bit. I mean, it's funny, it's in my mind the last couple of years, the grit and the distortion that I wanted to hear did not translate in the same way out here. And that's why we had this whole conversation about trust.
Yeah.
It's like in my ears, I wanted to hear this certain thing, but it wasn't necessarily making the bass lay with it wasn't playing well with others necessarily. So
honestly, that didn't happen until we got to the SVT pedal.
That's true.
That's when it came to life. Like it had the right places to be able to go get that kind of mid-range on it. That the other stuff that we tried just didn't work. Didn't work.
That's true.
Did not work.
We tried a few different things, and
I mean, it was always my goal with you, especially after the first tour that we did together. It's like my goal was, like, it's, you know, in this setting where you got huge screens up there. You know, when the guitar player is up there soloing, he's 60 feet tall.
Yeah.
And it's kind of easy to get that to match the visual. Like I can get that to a volume where it makes sense to see a guitar player soloing at 60 feet tall and you can hear it that way.
Yeah.
Very difficult to do for you in bass. Like, you know, it's hard to get the bass to have that kind of meaning when you step forward out on that tee and are in those guitar players. I need the bass to be that big. I need it to be as big as those 60-foot guitar players. I'll tell you where it's really noticeable for me is in Setting the World on Fire.
Yeah.
Right? Because you step down stage.
Yeah.
You are the focus of this thing. You start singing and the bass doesn't come in.
That's right.
Until a certain period.
Yeah.
And when that comes in, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
There she is right now. I mean, no question about it. Who's playing bass right now? And it's cool. It's a very, very cool moment in the show.
I wonder too, like, does the layman, does the everyday concert goer know what a bass sounds like? Like, would they know how to discern, like, on stage? I mean, they know what a guitar sounds like, and when someone's soloing,
this is just my whole take on it. I think it's very just emotional, you know.
It's an emotional thing.
Like if I said pick out what the bass player is doing, you know, I doubt that they could do it.
Yeah.
Other than when you're going up the neck now.
Yeah.
Like that's man, that is so good now. Like it comes so forward now. Now they know what you like. Well, you know, and it's kind of, I mean, and I know you suffer from this, and I do. It's like the Ampeg imprint has been put on our brain from listening to music for 50 years.
Yes.
And you kind of go, yes. That's why I gave you your homework.
It's hard to escape that. Yeah. I mean, when I started playing bass, I was 17. So I was a little bit older than some of my peers that started picking up instruments, you know, and I grew up in a house where, you know, my parents were playing records and they were playing the Beatles. For sure, he was a big Beatles fan, playing Taj Mahal and the band and Little Feat. And that's all the stuff I grew up listening to. And to me, all those artists and bands, it's very rhythm section, you know, predominantly bass, drums, keys, like very melodic. So maybe as a little kid, my ear got accustomed to hearing that kind of stuff, because then when I sat with a bass. I never went to school. I never took lessons. You can edit that out.
Wow.
It's fine.
I'm just going to scoot over a little bit. I'm clearly not worthy.
I remember when I got my first bass, I went to our local music store with my dad, and I got home with this made in Mexico P bass, and I would sit on the floor in the living room, and I would play records and CDs, and I would just start to my ear could like pick out the bass parts, and so that's how I learned how to play. So I don't know, to me, bass was always something that my ear could hear first and foremost. And I don't know, maybe it's because of all the stuff that I grew up listening to, but it's very important to me.
I know for me as a kid, kind of putting our own bands together when I was a preteen and teenager.
Yes.
The bass player was always the guy that wasn't good enough to play guitar, And, I mean, it was so wrong, because we all grew up listening to Paul McCartney, and we didn't realize, how important the bass was until we realized how important the bass was. Then all of a sudden it was like, well, no, wait a minute. The best musician in the band needs to be the bass player.
That's right. It was the last, well, you don't have a roll. You should play bass.
Yeah, that's the E string right there. You get about 4 notes, okay? So that's where you're going to go here.
There's no money above the 5th fret.
That's right.
That's definitely true. Oh my gosh.
Oh man. Yeah. Again, I know, as a young kid who was starting to turn into a sound geek, it was all about magazines, Hit Parader, Circus, Rolling Stone, etc. And you couldn't help but see that and see Ampeg in play. It was everywhere. All your favorite bass players live were playing Ampeg. I remember seeing it as a young kid going to concerts and stuff. So, I at the time I didn't put it together sound quality wise, but it's like, well, everybody's playing that. It must be pretty good, that kind of thing, until I started working with bands that were of some merit. And then I started seeing it. I was like, wow, okay. It seemed like it didn't matter. I remember going through so many other different bass topologies, and it was just that magic thing of getting it to fit with distorted guitar. There's something about what they do that makes that work. I don't know how to explain it, but I know it when I hear it. And it's like, yep, that's the piece. And that was the piece that was missing when I showed up for you. You didn't have a tone really that I thought was aggressive enough to hang in with those guitar players.
Yeah, and I think I knew that, but I didn't really know how to get there or how to even explain that.
Well, the irony of it is that on the first tour, I remember, we didn't have the cab or anything out there, but what I was doing out front was Ampeg amp simulation on your channels, on your DI channels. But then you kind of get into that thing, we've talked about this before, where it's like, okay, I got a great bass sound going there that is working, but you're disconnected from it.
That's right. Yeah.
You weren't playing to that sound.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, that's the next stage of this. We got to connect you to your sound here.
I am way connected to the sound.
You are way connected right now. Maybe overly connected a couple times here and there.
Oh, yeah.
All I know is it's really fun mixing that sound right now.
Oh my gosh.
Really fun.
It's very rewarding to hear that come back at me in my ears too. I think there's so many years when I felt disconnected from what was going on,
Easy to do up there.
It is easy to do. And this place is huge, and we're playing a lot of these, and the stage is huge, and we're on in-ears. And so if you're not really fully connected to the sound that's coming out of this into here, then it doesn't feel right.
I know for me out here, and again, I'll keep harping on this, when the bass is right, that's when the PA feels like it has a sense of power to it.
Yeah.
Like tonality comes up in the guitar range and the vocal range, but the power in the PA and the kind of just that power element comes from the bass drum, snare drum, and the bass guitar. When that is right, everything just feels more powerful.
Yeah.
But it's hard to get there, man. That is a challenging beast.
I imagine
to do in these places.
differs from room to room too. But
for sure.
And of course,
but when you get it,
gives us that, right?
That's right.
But when you get that right at the source, as soon as you get here, it's better. It's like, ooh, it's like you don't want to get in that thing where you're fighting for it all the time. If the source isn't sorted out right, you're just going to go round and round and round with it out here.
Chase your tail.
Out of control. So if you can get it right at your spot, you have a way, way better chance out here. Should we try to do it in unison here?
Oh God.
Oh dear.
Oh no.
We might need a teleprompter. Happy 75th anniversary.
Happy 75th anniversary.
1,
2,
2, 3.
3.
Happy 75th anniversary.
We did good.
Oh, that's it. I'm singing tomorrow night.
I'm impressed.
I'm singing tomorrow night. I got all your parts tomorrow. Don't worry about it. Let's do it from front of house. There are 2 parts to having a successful bass sound with Ampeg. The first, of course, is having an Ampeg amp. The second is the bell-bottom pants that you wear while you're playing through this amp. Okay, that is the magic combination. That is the Quan.
The Quan. That was good, man.
Dude, you are so full of shit.
I don't even know what to
I don't even know where
say.
to go with
I
that.
know.
I mean,
know.
bell-bottoms and Ampeg. I mean,
I
come
know.
on,
It's
that's
this
the Quan.
beautiful little, like, perfect full circle. Like, we're back. Man.
Top that. Go for
Shit,
it.
well, damn
on,
it. I
throw
should
down.
I got nothing. I mean, I don't got the bell-bottom things, even though I wear the bell-bottom things. We
That's
should
what I was
trade
implying,
one
by the
night.
way.
We should trade one
Oh,
night.
we're going to trade.
God.
You would look fetching in those bell bottoms.
Really
Oh, man, I'm going
amazing.
leopard skin, assless chap, bell-bottoms. That's what I'm going in. I'm going to throw that down one night up front of house.
Oh man, I'm gonna have the best blooper reel out of this shit.
Oh my God. Shit. So I have now been playing with Kenny Chesney for almost 10 years. I'm approaching my 10-year anniversary with him in 2025. And when I first got this gig, I had this idea that it was country. It was just country. I had this amazing country gig and it was awesome. And while it does have elements of country, it is really just a rock and roll band. And I realized that the first time that I stepped on stage with this band, that this is a freaking rock band. There's these guitar players, and really, I think Kenny Chesney just wants to be in Van Halen. And you know, like at the end of the day, like that's what he wants to do. He just wants to get up there and rock. And I think having been an Ampeg artist for as long as I have, like in this country world that's not really country, it's kind of rock and roll, it just makes sense that I'm playing this like beefy rock bass rig with the Ampeg, and it cuts through and it's gritty and it's everything that I have always wanted a bass to sound like. We're doing it every night in a football stadium.
Well, he's expecting you to be Michael Anthony now. So
I got to fix my bass.
I mean, you got to get it going.
I got to get it going, I know. And Ampeg is rock and roll.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank the Lord.
Thank the Lord.